June the 25th, 2023. Shout out to my friends in Indiana. You have a very strong line of storms moving through your area now, and you've got tornado warnings that are up. South of Kokomo, you've got one, and then west of Terre Haute, Indiana, moving into the Bloomington area, you have one there. All of the yellow boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings. So take heed now, pause the video, check your weather radio, check your weather stations, radio and TV. Make sure you're aware of any changes that are happening. Check on your friends and family. Then you can come back to the video. But again, charge up your batteries. There were folks here in the last few weeks, just as I was getting out of the hospital, guys that were going down with losing power from the storms, and it took a week to get some of them back up. Part of that may have been supply chain issues coming out of whoever builds the US's transformers now, whether that's China or whoever. Now again, pause the video, take care of business. Now guys, it's been a pretty hectic week. I've tried to come back a couple times and gotten very weak. I had to deal with a lot of lower back pain, and then yesterday I started dehydrating. So you know, it's kind of one nightmare rolled up into the other, and now I'm drenching myself in electrolytes of different forms and trying to pull it back together. But sometimes all you can do is just chill out, and there's no way you can mentally overcome some of that and do a video that's even worth watching. Now I want to switch for a moment to the so-called coup that we saw in Russia. And by the way, the media that got behind this coup and everything, that was paid for with U.S. tax dollars. I think the bill for that and some of the other orchestrations was around $6 billion of our money. But just to wrap this thing up a little bit, there was an attempted coup, or supposedly a coup, by Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group. He said he was tired of the way that two of the generals, not Putin, but two of his generals, were treating him and his men. He claimed at first that there was a missile attack from his rear by Russian forces. And so he organized everybody, and they got within a couple of 100 kilometers of Moscow. Well, suddenly it was stopped. It was over. It went from a couple of helicopters being shot down, maybe a plane, bridges being burned, until now, and we saw this a couple of days ago, Prigozhin, the head of Wagner, is in Belarus. And Belarus is an ally of Russia. So the U.S. is kind of they're at their wits' end, because they were hoping and praying that they could create a coup. How many Desert Springs have we seen? And really going back to all the world wars and all the minor wars have we seen instigated by you know who. Well, it says the arrival of Prigozhin in Belarus raised the alarm in the U.S., Britain, Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine. Officials of these countries informed that Prigozhin's forces are targeting Kiev. Now, whether or not that's true, we don't know. But now he is a lot closer, being in Belarus, to creating a pincer movement from the Russian forces and the Wagner forces. Plus, again, Belarus and their president are allies with Vladimir Putin. Now, one thing that I did see happen, and although I hadn't felt like doing a video, and I really wanted to, was kind of how this thing played out simply from reading about it and researching some different articles. But Medvedev, who's like the vice president behind Putin, or the president, and Putin's the overall leader, but he had something very interesting to say. He said, first of all, we will not let hands of traitors ever touch the nuclear weapons that Russia holds. We are a nuclear superpower, and it will end in devastation. But then he said something, it was only one sentence, and not a lot of people in the media talked about it, but he said, we quickly monitored the complete telephone line systems of Russia, and we found out everybody that was making calls, kind of like January 6th here, to go along with the coup. He said they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So we've seen the conflict between, again, Wagner and the two generals that are supposedly with Putin. And we've seen that conflict over the last several months. They will not supply him certain weapons, or they delay it, whatever it is. There's been a conflict brewing there, and it looked like the U.S. was going to try to take advantage of that. But again, what has happened is they've outed everyone in Russia that had a cell phone or another means of communication, laptop, whatever it is, that were going to go along with this if it did happen. It didn't happen. Now you've got, they're saying that Prigozhin's forces are 100 kilometers from Kiev, where they were 300 from Moscow. Says the president of Lithuania, Gitanas Nausėda, stressed that NATO should reinforce the eastern flank if Prigozhin or soldiers of the Wagner group end up in Belarus. He's already there. This is what they wanted the whole time. Now, something else, you can take that with a grain of salt. That's what I saw. I saw the fake out of NATO in the West by Putin and Prigozhin. I saw them basically trap everyone in Russia that would have went along with the West and NATO into making comments. They thought that here comes Prigozhin, here comes Wagner, it's about to end for Putin. Well, they all just got outed, and I'm sure there's a lot of them being lined up right now for jail time. The other thing that we talked about in the last video I did before I went back down was that the military movement in the U.S., and that it was Russia talking about it. Remember, missile systems on firing positions on the West Coast. Now, a lot of you guys came in and rightfully commented that at this time of the year we see National Guard units, military movements in these tests and trials and these different war game scenarios, basically. But guys, with all the movement that we did see, where was the equipment going? We have just seen in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, most of everything the West has sent overseas to the conflict get decimated as before most of it got to the front lines. Was this a rush under the guise of something else, over drills, or under the guise of drills, to get this equipment moved to staging positions where it could quickly be sent to Europe? Or was it even more nefarious on simply getting it moved out of the way here for whoever came in? That equipment would be no problem, even if you had white hats involved. I don't know, guys. I have been studying it, but I do see that what happened in Russia was a brilliant chess move. Not only, again, did you get your you get the Wagner group moved into Belarus, friendly country with Russia, but you're seeing all of the dissidents that were against Putin being called out, and as a matter of fact, going to be locked up and probably worse. And a lot of you will be saying, well, that's no better than what happened in J6. What's the difference? The West was instigating it both places, in Washington, D.C. and in Russia. The same demons that are doing it here was doing it there. Bless you, Rocket. That's one of my huskies, a big boy. He's sneezing back here. But, guys, that's what's happening. We're seeing the West and NATO being outflanked militarily and mentally. Now, going back to the demons, guys, you saw a couple weeks ago with the celebration at the White House. You saw that. Many of you saw that. Basically handing over the U.S. to the demonic forces that are all about the murder of children, the surgery that's done on them, and we are right at the saltest points to where blood sacrifices are very important. These demons have taken over, guys, and the only thing that's going to save us It's not news articles. It's good to be aware, but it's the full protection, and you better ask for it now, of our Lord Jesus Christ. Think about other things. Think about your plans, or you're about to go on a big vacation, but you don't have enough food to make it 2 weeks. Think about things like that, because it's about to go down. They're about to go completely digital, and if your name is not on that digital card in good standing, you're going to be the group that starves. There's going to be a lot of conservatives and Republicans that are about to starve. The demons are coming full force now. They think they have it made. They thought they just had won World War III. But luckily, we have someone in place there, or we don't, they do, that can see through the lies of the West, through the central banking systems, through the woke systems that are being put in place to destroy the countries that they're put into. So now is the time to pray like you've never prayed before. Prepare spiritually. The demons are loosed. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.